Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is home ownership consultant Ross Kay from the wealthyhomeowner.ca, Canada's authority on home ownership. Welcome back to the show, Ross.
And thanks for having me back on, Jim.
Ross, we have a listener question. They ask, Ross mentions how a minimum wage family can afford a home in Canada, but we can't find one anywhere. What are we doing wrong? Well, more importantly, Ross, where should they be looking?
Well, isn't that really the answer to the question?
Yeah. And of course, now that people can work from home, with thousands looking to move out of the city, this is something that a lot of people, I think, should be looking at.
Well, it's something that, Canadians have experienced for generations. People, if you can't afford to live in Beverly Hills, you shouldn't expect to live in Beverly Hills. And that simply is the way that our society works. Because if it wasn't that way, everybody who wanted to live in Beverly Hills would have a right to live there, and those who choose not to live in Beverly Hills would be expected to pay or forced to pay for those people who wanted to live there. And that's really the greater discussion of what this is, Jim. We're looking at all these affordable housing situations across Canada, and we see the conversations that take place. There seems to be a certain segment of the population who believes they have a right to live wherever they want. And their right is so great that they can ask the rest of Canada to pay for their choice. Now, I will say this specifically. In Vancouver, the amount of conversation about affordable housing in the city of Vancouver defies home ownership and housing stock science. Because you are never going to be able to create enough housing stock in Vancouver so that everyone in British Columbia who wants to live there can live there. I mean, Vancouver is literally the Beverly Hills of British Columbia. You are on the ocean. You have a great infrastructure. You have wonderful schools. Well, schools we're lucky about in Canada. They're all relatively good. You have parks, a university, all at your doorstep. What that normally means in a society is that is a place where the highest quality housing stock will be built, and those with the highest incomes or those who have the highest level of wealth will be able to afford. We don't live in a socialist country where everyone gets to pick and choose and have the rest of the society to pay for it. Now, I know that's hard to take, and I know there's a lot of listeners to the show who are not going to want to hear it. But I'm sorry, I have to just revisit things the way that my parents went through life, the way that I went through life, and the way that thousands of families that we help have gone through life. You have to make choices.
But now in Vancouver and Toronto and other major cities, we have thousands of people who expect the government will provide them a home. And in the case of Vancouver, provide them a home in the world's third most expensive city for free.
And you have politicians who are agreeing with those voices. Now, your problem is way greater in Vancouver, Jim, than your problem is in Toronto, because your home ownership rate in Vancouver is so much lower than it is in Toronto. That means the voter base technically can flip the entire conversation in Vancouver. Voters themselves, tenants in Vancouver, can flip the entire talking points or the entire viewpoint of the city of Vancouver. They can remove it from the homeowners who have helped build that city, the families who have helped build that city over generations. So the answer to this question is not to criticize someone for their viewpoint or their beliefs, but rather to offer an alternative viewpoint. And my alternative viewpoint is one where you move to where the job that you have allows you to build wealth. What that means is, in Canada, if you have 2 children and you are in the a low taxpayer bracket, the government of Canada will give you $9,300 a year for your 2 kids. That's $9,300 a year of tax-free money. What that means was, when my parents were raising their 2 kids, they didn't get that money. When I was raising my 4 kids, we didn't get that money. And at the early stages of my parents' life, my dad was a factory worker. My mom picked tomatoes in the summer. She was a full-time homemaker. But she went out of the house in a way that she could to earn extra money. My dad plowed fields for the first house they lived in, which was a rental, because they couldn't afford the farmer's rent. So my dad plowed the fields to cover the rent. I mean, that was only a short 2 generations ago. My dad is still out there every single day, cutting his grass in his 80s, driving his boat. He's got a 14-foot aluminum that he still hops in every day. And for him, this was just yesterday. When we look across Canada, right today, there are over 18,000 homes, 18,000 homes that are for sale, which people who receive the Canada Child Tax Benefit with 2 kids could fully afford. This is something that people don't understand when we hear these crazy comments about house prices and why we look at things totally different. You can pay $150,000 worth of mortgage with a CCB, a whole $150,000 plus property tax. There are areas where you can spend up to $180,000 and have your the government fully pay off your house for you in the 17 years that your kids will be at home before they go off to university. You've just got to look, and you've got to be willing to move to those places. Because if you want to continue to want to have a house in Beverly Hills, that means you will never own it. It means that no matter what you do, every single penny that you earn is going to go to someone else. There is no way for a society to be structured so that you can build wealth. It is not going to happen. So let's look at the alternatives, even within British Columbia, because I know everybody's going to hate my answer. If you're in an expensive area, you need to move out of that area. Coincidentally, I'm looking at Rossland. You like that one, Jim? Out in eastern British Columbia. They have fully detached homes out there right now for $180,000. Now, it's not a palace, but you're also owned, if you have 2 kids, your CCB is going to fully pay for it. You can structure that ownership so that the CCB is going to pay the mortgage off by the time the kids go to post-secondary. That means if both the husband and wife work, or, better yet, one of the spouses may decide to stay home because the cost of child care is so outrageous that it makes better for them to find a job that they can work from home at, including taking care of the home and the family. There's lots of guys out there that would be happy to do that if their spouse is a higher earning spouse. This is an option. And again, I respect that people don't want to hear this. I respect that people want to hear the answer that they want to hear. And, I can even understand it. But the reality is, what we want doesn't matter. We have to look at what reality is. And then I look further out, and I look just over the border. I look just across the border into Alberta. And I see the awesome lives that a family can build just into Alberta. When you're looking at Lethbridge, they have beautiful homes for sale. Really nice, good starter family homes for under $180,000. They have nice townhomes for in the 160. Now, what that means is the government will pay off your house for you. So no matter the money that you're earning can all go towards your family, the quality of life your family has, and as an addition, filling up your TFSAs. Now, can you imagine if both people, as I've said in the show before, there's probably not a McDonald's in Lethbridge. I don't know. But Two people taking minimum wage jobs in Lethbridge with 2 kids. One person works 30 hours, and the other one works 40. They stagger their shifts so that daycare is taken care of by the household. You have all that money coming in every single month. You are never going to do that in Vancouver. You are never going to do that in Toronto. The conversation really needs to flip the other way so that we can be honest with people. So politicians can quit being allowed to buy votes by playing upon the biases and the myths about home ownership, wealth, and housing. We need to hold these people accountable. They need to be speaking truth to wealth, and that is not going on right now. What I can tell you is this. If you choose to live in Beverly Hills, expect to be living in a tent your entire life and be paying the highest campsite fee you could imagine. Because I'll tell you, if they build affordable housing somewhere in your neighborhood that you can get by on a dual minimum wage income, there's going to be more people who want to live there. There's going to be artificial pressure caused because of it. We don't hear these politicians speaking about immigration law. Now, I am a pro-immigration supporter, but I am a pro-immigration supporter when the housing stock is growing at a quick enough pace where we're adding enough backyards to the country to support all the new households that are being formed, whether it be through immigration or marriage. When politicians refuse to do that and say, oh no, we can't build in the agricultural land because we need to have the green space, we need to have that farmland retained, then I say, okay, that's fine, I have no problem with that. Then stop immigration. You are effectively saying, on one hand, we can't grow the population because we don't have room for them, but we're going to do it anyway. Instead of saying, possibly, as a solution, I don't know, we're going to start utilizing farmland in Alberta to grow the produce that we need in Vancouver. We're going to put a better highway system in place, better transportation system in place, or better rail lines in place to get a better 24-hour delivery of that produce. That will allow us to grow the housing stock for the people who want to live in Vancouver. It's one or the other. What I do know is this. Right now in Canada, there are over 20,000 homes that can be purchased on the market today for the CCB if you've got 2 kids. There are over 20,000 homes for sale. Some of those homes would cost you $1.5 million in Vancouver. A housing correction will never solve the affordability problem. When the affordability problem, the answer does not involve recommending people move elsewhere to find affordable housing. If you want to continue to stack more people on top of one another in Toronto or Vancouver, you're going to have a far less healthier population physically. You're going to have a huge mental health issues. You're going to have a population where crime rates inevitably go up, and you're going to have a population that has the chance of them building a lifetime of wealth is next to nil. They're going to go through their entire life living a constrained life. When we say there are over 20,000 homes across Canada for sale that you can buy for the CCB if you have 2 kids and you both work minimum wage, what we're actually saying is the quality of life you're able to have. Instead of struggling every single day to get by, you have a quality of life where you get to be fulfilled. You can afford a Honda Civic if you need one to get to work. You can take your family camping as a holiday for 2 or 3 weeks a year. You can visit your ailing family members if they're sick because you have the means and the time to be able to do that. That is what a quality of life is. If you're looking for a solution in Vancouver for affordable housing solutions by politicians, you're basically saying you are going to allow those politicians to constrain your life and force you to live a less healthy, a less wealthy life. We say, take a time, and we understand how it feels to move from, let alone one subdivision to another, changing schools for the kids, to one city to another, one province to another. But the beautiful thing about this country is we're all Canadian and we're free to move and live wherever we want.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ross Kay. Ross, the BC Real Estate Association announced BC's housing market had a major bounce back in June. What's your take on the numbers they've provided?
The numbers they provided and the commentary they provided, I believe we tweeted out last night what they were going to say today. I think we said they were going to be reporting a price increase of around 62,000. And they were going to be reporting sales were up around 1,200. We also said they were going to start giving false narratives, how sales were surging back, how prices had increased year over year by probably like 9%. And as it turns out today, that's exactly what they released. So anyone who follows me on my Twitter account, they can go back and check what was published yesterday, what they were going to say, because that's exactly what they said. The false narratives are just unbelievable. The way that we measure housing markets is done in a way that allows people to logically understand what's happening with the housing market without fear or anxiety, because we present the housing market through the eyes of the buyer. Now, when you look at the sales data or the press release, the marketing stats from BC Korea today, this is what I want people to understand. If you look at it, they're saying the provincial average price, they actually use the term residential average price. So they're trying to have you psychologically believe home prices across the province have averaged an increase of $62,000 in the last year. It's 61 something, I believe. But then when you look at the granular data, let's see what happened. Well, in BC Northern Real Estate Board, prices were up $3,000, or down $3,000, excuse me. In the Chilliwack Real Estate Board, prices were up, $22,000. Fraser Valley, the entire Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, the average home buyer active in the month of June was only spending $39,000 more. Where are they getting this $62,000 increase? Greater Vancouver posted again. What's that? 49, 20, 69, 68.5. 68.5. Around 68.5. A little tiny bit above what they said the entire province increased. Kamloops, 25, $30,000. Kootenay, $35,000. Okanagan Mainland, $53,000. Powell River, what's that? 40 and 10. That's $55,000. Long story short. Oh, in Victoria, $100,000. They want people to believe house prices in Victoria increased 14.4%. Now listen to how absurd their statements are, folks. They are on national news tonight. You're going to hear average home prices in British Columbia increased $62,000. They used the cover of the 9.1% increase. Victoria, not a very big place, supposedly had an increase of $100,000. Yet on the ground prices in Victoria are unchanged. What happened? This is the magic of real estate stats. If a whole bunch, all of a sudden, 1 year, there's not a busy single detached market in a city, but the next year, the trading cycle dictates that single detached homes are selling in that same month, you get a massive house price increase without home prices changing one bit. It's just that the sales mix shifted to single detached homes. then the magic works once again. Because if we look over to the sales, we would expect maybe sales increased in Victoria. They sure did. They're up 10.6%. But the beautiful math that not once has been published by anyone in British Columbia state is the fact that Greater Vancouver saw an extra 400 sales year over year this June, and Fraser Valley posted an extra 380 sales, 360 sales different. Those two combined are 800 extra sales. How many extra sales were in the entire province? Well, you're looking at around 1,200. 3/4 of the sales were to those two places. And guess what, folks? Last year, at this time of the year, those two places weren't 50% of the sales in the province of British Columbia. So you have a category of home change in sales price. The sales shifted. Then a city shift in sales price, which causes the provincial average to go up. Then the magic of the Canadian Real Estate Association will happen tomorrow, where the sales shift to British Columbia will inflate the Canadian national average selling price. Now, it gets better, folks, because at a granular level, it's even stronger. Because if you look at where the single detached homes were purchased in Victoria in June of 2020, it's not even the same area as they were purchased in June of 2019. The quality of home being purchased is far superior in 2020 than it was in 2019. The overall square footage is bigger in 2020 than it was in 2019 in Victoria. This works its way all throughout the sales stats marketing program. It's why we're sitting here 10 years out from 2010 when we first offered to any realtor in Canada who can prove house prices change in 31 days. They can't because they don't. The only thing that happens is house price illusion, which has become believed to actually being house price change through the mechanisms of organized real estate. The Teranet National House Price Index, which mirrors the MLS HPI, which mirrors the average selling price. And everybody says, how can these metrics so widely divergent? After all, Teranet uses a house that sold this year, and they compare it against when it sold last time. That could be 12 years ago. How can they use those two prices to record house price change? Let's see. I'm sure that house has a brand new roof on it by now. It's probably had a furnace replaced. I'm sure the bathrooms are probably all done. Probably has a brand new kitchen. Probably has a renovation of some sort. I'll bet you the driveway's been replaced. I'll bet you the kitchen's been replaced. I bet every single component of the CREA benchmark, which measures bathrooms and kitchens and granite countertops, by the way, folks, it's all an illusion. You're being fed a story. This marketing approach used by organized real estate is unethical, it is irresponsible, and it is going to lead to the destruction of organized real estate and the real estate brokerage business as we know it. Home prices, the average residential price in British Columbia did not increase $62,000. If you believe that, I have some swampland up in northern BC you're welcome to buy, because you can build condos on it. A 100-story condo that will sell out in a minute on the swampland. That's how ludicrous this press release is from BC CREA today. Sadly, the knowledge base required to decipher MLS stats into a granular breakdown has been lost somewhere over the decades. But I'll tell everyone, in the night when I started selling real estate in 1980, my dad showed me exactly how, and it hasn't changed till this day.
We'll have more with Ross Kay right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Ross Kay. A listener question. My mother owns a home in Toronto and is thinking of selling. We're looking to buy our first home and are wondering about a co-living situation with her. Is that a good idea in 2020?
Is it a good idea? Look, for hundreds of years, families ebbed and flowed in and out of the house. You grew up with your parents, you moved out, started your own life, lived your own life, and then often at some time, a parent needed to move back at home. It just made more sense. You know, maybe the grandfather could do daycare for you. Maybe the grandmother enjoys cooking for the family. There was just a short period here, probably about 2 generations, where this multi-generational families in the same home item were not cool any longer. You know, we needed our personal space. Well, the beautiful thing about the question in place here is that your mom, you said the mom owned the home, and in Toronto, so we're probably worth a property that's, let's say for the sake of your argument, you're worth $1 million for the sake of the argument. If it's 900, it's 900. If it's $1.5 million, it's $1.5 million. Let's just say $1 million. Okay, that's $1 million in equity. And these people are thinking of buying a house. Well, what if they were to build a house? What if they were to build a house where the mother got to pick every single thing she wanted in a new home? She got to pick the countertop height. She got to have ramps built in so that she could live in that house for a longer period of time. What if she wanted to have a south-facing backyard because she wanted to have light in her kitchen every morning for the first time in her life? She has the money to do that. Now, the kids, by combining the 2 houses, can have a separate house within the house so that the 2 families have total separation of personal lives for the vast majority of time. The grandkids could still run over and see grandma or grandpa if that's the case. Need a babysitter? Well, maybe you got a babysitter right next door. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. It all depends on the parent. Co-living situations are fantastic. Now, I understand they're not for everyone, and I understand that myself even, you know, could I live with my mom and dad? I don't know. I worked with them for 20 years, but could I live with them? You know, I don't know. Which is why I say you have 2 totally separate houses. You don't stick grandma in the basement, get her cash and stick her in the basement. No. You make sure that there's a beautiful renovation above grade where she has her own fully detached apartment. You need lawyers involved. You need lawyers to be sure that any other family members who are often thinking about inheritance are protected. You need to make sure that mom's protected in case, you know, you're irresponsible with your money where she has not been over her lifetime. You can't be allowed to put a lien on the house because you can't expose her to that kind of risk. This is what a lawyer is for. There are many homes out there today that are built. Our preferred choice, to be honest with you, Jim, is a semi-detached home where you have a builder is building homes attached with one wall, 2 separate homes. These are great buys because you have 2 people living in two properties with totally different titles, yet the funds can be used to have them both. Now, of course, the child is going to have to expect to pay the mortgage, but this is a way of getting their down payment. There's ways of protecting that so you don't have conflict. The main thing is that no one takes advantage of the other person. And I know that's probably the problem that we really have in 2020, as it goes back to the first discussion we had in today's show about people wanting to live in Beverly Hills when by choice, and the rest of society saying, oh, you know, they have to be forced to pay it. These situations in 2020 mean that you need lawyers involved who are working out a strategy to protect both sides, everyone who's involved in this discussion. But I'll tell you, when it's done right, the quality of life improvement is substantial. The quality of life for everyone is substantial. When someone is sick, the ability to help others is unbelievable. The difference between having to drive an hour to help mom as she's fallen, broke her hip, versus walking in through the front door 4 steps away is a life-changing experience. We know as we age, we all run into health problems, and if we're lucky enough to have family available to help us, it is a life-changing event for us versus having to rely on an old age home, which COVID has revealed to be the despicable profiteering item that it has been. In the short term, this is a great idea. You need to have a lawyer. You need to have some counseling. Yes, you need to have some counseling take place, both separately and together, to make sure that everybody is okay with what's going on. But it can be a huge improvement to the quality of life of everyone involved in that co-living situation.
Ross, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me on, Jim.
My guest has been Ross Kay, homeownership consultant at thewealthyhomeowner.ca. If you have any questions for Ross or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@housestreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HoweStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HoweStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.